Deal with it. We want to deal with it.
Are you just gonna sit there and take it that last caller just made me drive off? Is this done or what every day? Yeah, figure out whether to really show up or whether to really don't.
DrivetimeUGC.
Let's not start that mental breakdown again.
It's an experiment.
Well, with the Foundry, we can probably agree on what the biggest bugs are right now.
Information or instruction. This concludes this test of emergency broadcast system.
Hello and welcome to Drive Time UGC episode 3. We're live. Yeah. I'm Cerberusfilms, and joining me tonight, as always, to my left, maybe, or is he to my right? I'm not quite sure. Is Captain PF Dennis.
Hello, everyone.
Somewhere over there in the other direction, whatever that direction may be, is Kirkfat.
Hello, Stoke community.
And waltzing in through the door is Cosmodium.
It's podcasting, but not as you know it.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So, hello guys. How are we all? Good? Yay?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay then. We have people in the chat room. Hello chat room. How are you tonight? I assume good. We'll find out in 47 seconds because YouTube has decided that we are very Star Trek in having a 47-second delay.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the intro. Yeah. Shall we go straight into our show notes for today?
Yeah,
And just dive straight in. Awesome. We'll start with me, and I found this out today because I've been at a festival all weekend. We can make Romulan missions now?
Yep.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went in and messed around with it, and it basically works like this. You can now specify the Romulan faction as the faction for your mission. However, you can't make a Romulan tune to test the mission with. And when you publish the mission and you search for the mission as your Romulan, whether you're on the KDF side or the Fed side, the mission is nowhere to be found. So we have the ability to make a Romulan mission, but we don't have the ability to test or play it.
Yeah, so it's happening.
Progress.
But not as we know it.
That pun is going to get very, very old.
So do you guys have
Fitting in,
any...
it's new to you.
Mhm.
So I guess it seems like somebody turned a button on, but the Foundry doesn't have a way to distinguish between Fed KDF and Romulan KDF as actual Romulans, maybe?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that they're
it's
doing a lot of implementing of things halfway. Like we have the ability to assign sounds, but not really.
Mhm.
You know, it's just
So
not ready yet.
It basically
Yeah.
amounts to somebody didn't comment something out when it got put into the project, and here we go. It's how we
Or-
ended up with the import until
Or
they
they're
took it out.
testing that it's there, and then they just didn't want to comment that because remember, beta is beta or beta is beta, whatever the hell I'm supposed to be saying.
It is really amazing, though, how many times things just show up in the Foundry and then get removed from the Foundry, and there are no show notes, or there are no patch notes, there's no communication, it's just, it's there, it's gone, or it's there again, or it's there and it doesn't work.
So it wasn't in patch notes.
No.
All right. Okay.
No, none of
Interesting.
that stuff ever is.
Apart from the new assets.
Right, right.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the assets were all we knew we were getting until we got other things.
And we got those patch notes for Tribble, not for Holodeck.
Yeah.
When they put the asset patch notes out, they were for Tribble. We didn't know when they were going live, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
They want me allowed.
Well, it's something.
Yeah, it shows, I mean, somebody's at least doing something to get us closer to the point where we can make a Romulan mission.
Hmm. I would like to find out who it is that's doing it. That's one thing.
In this case, I almost don't think it's Stowe. It's anybody on the STO team. It's just maybe the shadowy Foundry. The Foundry team is doing something on their end. Maybe it's just simply adding the category of Romulan to the category of mission, whereas they're waiting on the other side to actually make that functional for Star Trek Online.
Yeah. Still,
it
it
does
would be
seem like
interesting
there are
to
a lot
know.
of things that are half done. You know?
Mm-hmm.
If it's half-baked, it's Star Trek Online Foundry.
Well, if it's half-baked, it means it's beta. Or beta. Which one am I supposed to say again?
Well, we
Beta.
Okay, I'll make the
Like the
Americans happy.
fish.
Like the fish? What?
A beta fish. You don't know what a
What
beta
are
fish
you
is?
on about?
I don't.
What? I am so confused. Why are we talking about fish? What? When did this become fish time, UGC?
Because we need more fish in the Foundry.
Hey,
This
we
is-
do
we
have
have
a
fish.
fish in the Foundry.
We have
It's about
8 fish.
It's the only way I can make a food item in the bowls that we have is by putting those fish in a bowl.
So essentially, what we're saying is that everyone in the future eats sushi.
Yeah,
Right.
There's something biblical about it.
Oh my god, that is going to be a mission. That is so good. All we need is bread. How can we make a loaf of bread?
Well, we have wine too, so we're all set. Bottles of wine.
That's
Fish.
true. That's very true. In fact, we could change it slightly and make it jeeps or shuttlecraft. So we have shuttlecraft, fish, and blood wine. I think that's a good mission.
Well, don't forget we have squirrels now too, so we could put squirrels in a bowl in a replicator.
But they're
And we
still
have-
alive.
And we have those what are those things called that roam around New Romulus, the squid-like things?
Repos.
Oh, nano.
No.
Nanos.
Nanos.
I love them.
Yeah,
Oh,
we could
I
have
want-
the player eat those too.
No! They're
Like
protected
calamari.
species. They're an
Oh,
endangered
that was-
species.
They're only slightly radioactive.
Hey, a little radiation's good for you. Maybe. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of my topic, is we can make Romulan missions now. So does anyone else have anything to say on it? Otherwise, it's going to be a really, really short topic.
We're just sort of waiting to see what they say because it just showed up and it's not functional. So I'm sure Monday Frost will post and say something like, "This is a work in progress." Oh, also one thing I'll say about that is it's incredible how few doors we have if you make a Romulan mission. At least right now, if you make a Romulan mission, you're limited to Bajor, the Klingon sections of Eta Eridani, a few other sections like Aurelius, but you can't make a Romulan mission in Romulan space or in Iota Pavlanis or Alpha Centauri or any of those places. So it's like there's only a couple places right now where you can start a Romulan mission. So
Yeah, something tells me that it's underdone.
Done over.
it is weird though that you can only start it in the Klingon parts of Eta Eridani, as if somebody went through and maybe they used the Klingon version of the doors there, or maybe they intentionally restricted it. It's very strange.
Well, I don't know. Maybe
But
they'll let
anyways,
us
it's
know.
good news. I mean, it looks like we'll be able to make Romulan missions at some point in the future.
Yay! Yay! And all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's something to be happy about for sure. I just wish they'd
Yeah.
let us know. You know.
Yeah. I take it didn't show up on Tribble patch notes either.
No,
No.
it was something that Haverhaw just went in and noticed.
Actually, I'll say
Alright.
I noticed it before he posted about it, but it was just one of those, Romulan faction, whatever.
You're never going to be pleased, are you, Cast? You got Horters. You got... Actually, do we have Horters? Yes, we have Horters.
Yep.
Yes, we got Hordas now, as of the addition of the squirrels and stuff.
Yep.
So you should be happy. You should be, like, overjoyed. You have Horter for Doffs, and you have Horters.
I don't have a Horda British officer yet. I don't have a foundry that will let me add an object from the right side menu and not take forever to load.
Ah,
Yeah.
but those are, like... You're just so picky. So picky.
Yeah.
I don't have costumes that went into the game starting in March of 2011. So yeah, I'll be pleased when we have a foundry that is half as asset-y comfortable as Neverwinter's is.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
I wholeheartedly agree.
And I gotta say, the squirrels are really awesome because if you take Mugatos and you reskin them as squirrels, they knock you down, and in most cases, the squirrels, let's just say, they go for the nuts, and it's really really funny to do in the foundry. So people, go forth and make. I mean, because that's kind of more evil than the Borg in my mind, are these rabid squirrels that go for your nuts. So.
So
That'll
they're
work.
squirrel nut zippers, huh?
It'll
we
be
have
as
honey badgers now. We have honey badgers in the foundry. Does no one get that reference?
Honey Badger means a totally different thing over here in America, thanks to American football.
Wow. Okay, I'm talking about the actual creature, the actual mammal. No. Okay. Never mind. Moving on. Before I have to censor that.
maybe we should talk about that workaround for the folks who haven't seen the thread or heard about it.
Yeah.
Yes, Kirkfat, go ahead with your bug fixes.
Okay, so this is basically how it works. As Cass said, the right side of the screen where all the tabs are, where you pull a building over and you put it into a map, or you pull an NPC over and put them into the map, that causes the load times if you use that right side of the screen. But you can do anything you want in the Foundry as long as you minimize that and build with something that's already loaded. So if it's a brand new map, put a few objects in, exit out of the Foundry, come back in, and then work with what you have. So you can copy and paste what's already on the map, or you can copy and paste one item, change it to something new, and build that way. And you won't experience any load times. It's only when you use that right side of the screen. And that's basically it. That's the workaround.
Well, we were talking a bit about the can't use the right side of the costumes tab. That's interesting. Has that been bug reported?
Not that I know of, but I haven't made costumes in a long time, so I haven't tested that.
Okay. We'll have to check that out. Thank you for letting us know about that. Drogon, was it? Yes?
No,
Drogon?
Relum.
No?
Relum.
Relum. Thank you, Relum. I really should read the chat more. Anyway. Anyone else have anything to say about that?
Well,
No? Okay then.
all I know is I've had good luck with it since I've been using it.
Let's move on to KF's other topic, which is going to probably be quite interesting for everyone. Stuff Dan Stoll said about the Foundry. Go.
Okay, so I've kind of been combing through past interviews that Dan Stahl has given, mostly with Priority 1. So I have a couple quotes here, and my intention here, I should say, is it's not to troll Dan Stahl or to say this thing contradicts this other thing. It's just an honest attempt to really understand what is happening behind the scenes as far as who is in control of the Foundry, who is working on the Foundry, what responsibility, what area falls into. But I'll start with this, and this is something Dan recently said, and it was an interview with MMORPG.com, which asked him how will the Legacy of Romulus expansion affect the Foundry, if at all. And his response is, This update has very little impact on the Foundry other than it opens the door for future updates where Foundry authors will be able to create missions exclusively designed for Romulan characters. Okay, so I think there's a way you can listen to this statement where he's thinking kind of metaphorically or the larger scale here, where this update won't impact the Foundry in terms of adding a bunch of new stuff or adding new functionality. But I think we can all agree that this update has impacted the Foundry quite a bit. I mean, we're 2.5 months out of the Legacy of Romulus, and so I made a list of everything that's impacted the Foundry, probably directly from the Legacy of Romulus update. And so first we saw that a change in reach markers broke our missions, or it didn't actually break the missions, right? The change in reach markers told the player to go to a place where the reach marker wasn't. But if they knew where the reach marker was, they could continue the mission. But that still essentially broke a lot of missions. We got the 1-star bombs until reviews were turned off. The Foundry was down for how many weeks, guys?
3 at least.
Yeah, 3.
3. And when it came back, we had bugs galore, right? It was the login failures, missions weren't republishing, lots of the maps were borked, and some of the maps still are borked. Missions were broken due to the collision through the objects, where if you had an object underneath the floor, players couldn't interact with it. KF character creation failure, long loading screens, crash to desktop, pop-up dialogue issues on Drazana Station, etc. You guys think of anything else that you'd add to my list of ways in which Legacy of Romulus impacted the Foundry?
Well, I think they used the opportunity to take out the costume import-export, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so we
took
lost the import-export function. So, as far as we know, right, all of these bugs are connected to Legacy of Romulus. Yes, I mean they're not the result of a Foundry team tinkering with the Foundry at the same time that we get this massive game update, right?
I think it's probably the opposite of that. It's the fact that there wasn't many people updating the Foundry code to be entirely compatible with Legacy of Romulus, as though there wasn't someone making sure
no
it all worked
preventative
beforehand.
maintenance.
Yeah, and I guess that's my biggest question here is, it does seem like Dan Stahl was kind of blindsided here, right? I mean, in his mind, the Legacy of Romulus didn't really have anything to do with the Foundry, right? It was about the Romulan faction. In fact, they didn't even turn it on for us, right? I mean, we can't make missions for their new faction. And so my question is, how can a big season update that has nothing really to do with the Foundry break so much stuff?
Simple answer: quality assurance.
Mm-hmm. I think it may be used as an excuse, but it still is an excuse. Beta is beta.
Yeah, and I don't know enough to say, but some of the code's got to be interconnected somehow, I would imagine.
Would you guys say that it seems like people are updating the code for different things, and they're not necessarily thinking about how it would impact the Foundry, or maybe the people who are changing the code have no idea what's in the Foundry or what maps are in the Foundry. You know, for instance, it might be an audio guy just changing a sound on a map, and he has no idea that that map or that object is in the Foundry. You think it's something like that, where it's like you just have this team of devs, they're all working overtime, they're focused on Legacy of Romulus, they have no free time, and they're focusing on the task, but there's no oversight as far as how all these little changes done by the Stowe team affect Stowe's Foundry. I
think it's really what there should have been is what you're saying is basically right. There was you have the team of people who are making changes here and there, blah, 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 for Legacy of Romulus, for the content, or for the PvP, or for everything else. People are looking after every system, every main system in the game, except for Foundry. They weren't exactly concentrating on making Foundry. They weren't concentrating on making sure it was fine, which is probably what caused us all these issues, because no one was looking after it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Cryptic Frost was trying to warn us. I mean, at the same time that Dan Stahl made this statement about how Legacy of Romulus wouldn't impact the Foundry, Cryptic Frost was on the forums warning us about some of the things that could break our missions. And so it seems like we have one guy who is sort of, right before the big update happens, he's like, okay, maybe I should log into the Foundry and see what's broken and what still works. But other than that, it doesn't seem like we have that kind of quality assurance or even awareness. It's almost like this is our game, Star Trek Online, and there's the Foundry. Well, that's not our department. So let's focus on Star Trek Online, and then we'll see how any of that affects the Foundry. Is that fair?
Right. Yeah. Well, we've been saying
to an extent,
forever
yeah.
that
Yeah. Sorry.
there's nobody looking after our Foundry. That's the problem.
Yeah. I think they've probably labeled it as this is beta. Whatever. And they can. It's legitimate to say that because it's beta or beta, then there's going to be bugs, etc., etc. But you're right. There was no one really there making sure that Foundry was going to be working after publish, and that's probably because of the priorities they had was, okay, Legacy of Romulus story, let's make sure all these maps, let's make sure this new faction is working, because I'm pretty sure that would have been one hell of a lot of Q&A. It doesn't excuse it necessarily, but I think it is probably the reason. Just they ran out of time as far as Q&A was concerned.
And Hippie John says they didn't care about PvP either.
Oh, didn't they? What went wrong with PvP?
I don't know what. I don't know. I was about to say I don't know that there was anything devastating.
PvP people have been saying, though, that they've been neglected for 3 years, and that's not entirely inaccurate. There hasn't been any major system update to PvP since Jackalope was talking about it, so...
A while ago, then.
I guess getting back to Dan, I came across the February 2012 interview that he gave with Priority One, and you guys remember back at this point, he had just come back to Star Trek Online from being on the Foundry team after leaving to go to Zynga. So
that's actually assuming he went to the Foundry team and wasn't supposed to go there and got tapped to move back to his other position.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least in his own words, he came back to Cryptic, he worked on the Foundry team, and then he returned as EP. And when he returned as EP, he said this. He said, "We recognize that having one small core group of people just work on the Foundry and try to support it across multiple games isn't working. And so what we've been doing," he adds, "is been training up additional software developers, producers, and content people to be able to support the Foundry per game. And now we have a dedicated software person who is getting in and understanding the Foundry code and can fix Foundry issues specifically for Star Trek. So we don't have to wait for the core team that's working on Neverwinter to get our bugs resolved or resolve our issues. We can actually support ourselves now." And I'm listing this, and I'm thinking about the Foundry during the last year, and particularly the Legacy of Romulus updates, and it seems like we're seeing a repeat of Season 4 right now. I mean, certainly Legacy of Romulus isn't as bad as Season 4, right?
We've discussed this before. The first rule of Season 4 is we don't discuss Season 4.
Okay, but I'm going to discuss Season 4 because we could probably agree that Season 4 happened because there was a mass exodus of Foundry programmers that just went to a different game, and the people who were still working on Star Trek worked on Star Trek and didn't really pay much attention to that other thing, so that when Season 4 happened, which had nothing to do with the Foundry, right? It was all about the combat, the ground combat changes.
Right.
And so that big season, which had very little to do with the Foundry, completely broke the Foundry because there was this huge disconnect. And then Dan Stahl comes back, and I think he's genuinely acknowledging that, look, this doesn't work, right? Having one core Foundry team work on the Foundry while everyone on Stowe, especially the top managers, are like, yeah, that's not my department. That doesn't work, and that causes these terrible seasons of Foundry bugs. Do you think that's fair?
I think probably what happened was it could have been one of two things. Either they were training up it could have been an existing software engineer that they were training up that already works on STO, and they were just saying, okay, learn the Foundry, and they may be the person that's just gone and put these new things in or has fixed things in the past, but they aren't actually dedicated to the Foundry. They may well just be an STO person now. They may have been sidetracked, or it may be they may have been sidetracked to just go back onto Neverwinter, or just the general Foundry team, or really it could have gone anywhere else in the company. That's probably what happened, was that they were just diverted off, which is a shame. But unfortunately, I don't really think we can hold Dan accountable to that necessarily. We can certainly hold what's his name, Zinc. We can hold Zinc accountable. It's Zinc's fault. Everyone blame the goats.
I think that's fair, but at the same time, let me use this analogy. Let's say that we're dealing with Starbucks, right? Dan always likes to compare his team to Starbucks. So let's say you're in charge of a Starbucks, and you take a lot of pride in the products that you produce, and so you have lots.
I would drink a lot of coffee. Just saying, I would drink a hell of a lot of coffee.
So let's say management, or the top manager of this Starbucks, he has control over the espressos and the lattes and the cookies, but for some reason, some other team is responsible for the mochas, and the mochas are foul. I would posit that a good manager would take responsibility for the whole of their store, and they shouldn't say, mochas, why are you pestering me about mochas? We're waiting on different managers to fix our machines. Go blame them. And so I kind of feel like a very dedicated boss who is incredibly proud of his Starbucks would go to corporate, would go to his boss and say, look, these machines are in my shop. I'm serving the mochas. I need control over my products. Let the East Side store have their own mocha team. I need my own team, because how it's set up now is not working. And I feel like he should do that. I mean, he should demand control over STO's Foundry, because it's his own product in his own game.
And I can imagine the response, though. The response is probably like, we don't make any money off mochas, so forget it.
Or words. I don't think we can say that he hasn't necessarily. I suppose it's something we'll just have to ask him at some point, when we eventually get him on some days, somewhere in the future. Possibly,
his latest comment in the Priority 1 interview is, he's asked about everything that's going wrong in the Foundry, and he says, well, so right now that's all the Foundry team. Our software team hasn't even had a chance to look at it yet. Most Foundry stuff that's happening right now is all the core code that's shared between the games. For example, all of the stuff that is in Neverwinter Foundry as well as our Foundry are being impacted by the same underlying issues. And I'll stop there, because I don't know if that last part's true, because every time I've dabbled in Neverwinter's Foundry, it doesn't have the bugs that are affecting STO's Foundry. And
maybe simply because of the idiosyncrasies between the game's coding, that whilst, they're updating the Foundry as a whole, as in the core codes as a whole, they're making sure that it ties into Neverwinter, whilst they're not making sure that it ties into STO, if that makes sense.
All right. So they're going to get a pretty major upgrade soon, right? Over at Neverwinter. Should we be expecting problems in our Foundry again?
That's a very interesting point.
Still, it does seem like the problems are coming from Legacy of Romulus, though, right?
Well, it's coming from, whether it be Legacy of Romulus, as in we don't know exactly where the problem has come from within that. It could be that it's a code branch. We've just gone up a code branch, and that's kind of similar to what happened in previous seasons, or it could be they changed maps, or they did something else, but it's a definite code change somewhere that's affected it. It may not be necessarily Legacy of Romulus that's created all of the bugs. it could just be because Foundry hasn't been updated on STO code, if that makes sense.
Well, and if you remember, because I believe I pointed this out to you, Oliver, when they were doing some of their changes to fix some of our issues, we were starting to get a different pop-up, and that pop-up was talking about what it amounted to, what sounded like a cryptic shared sandbox
UGC
space.
environment.
Right. That it seemed like it may potentially share between both, or any development section that has a UGC section. So it's entirely possible that when they did the code branch update, it brought in some of the stuff from Neverwinter, which isn't talking nicely with our version.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking as well.
Which, of course, then I turn around and say, why wasn't QA all over this?
They may have been, and it just hasn't been put on a schedule.
Well, to be perfectly honest, it seems that quality assurance is one guy.
Yeah.
And in
as far as the Foundry goes, anyway.
Well, in a massive multiplayer environment, one guy who basically goes, "Hey guys, this is broken. Hey guys, this is still broken." That's not progress. I told him it's gone. I'm just twiddling my thumbs until it's fixed. That's not advancement.
Yeah.
I don't think QA is just one guy. It's one guy for the Foundry.
Okay, it's one guy and a girl.
Foundry.
And a squirrel.
Who's the girl?
Zero.
And she's not QA at all anymore. She's programming producer.
Right.
Okay, fine. Then one hologram. A guy
Yes.
and a squirrel.
I want to meet this squirrel. I really want to meet this squirrel.
But at least according to Dan, I mean, he says, quote, "The Star Trek team is not actively part of those fixes. We're sort of waiting for those to get fixed."
Mm-hmm.
And so
I
whatever
think we probably
fixes
should ask. Sorry.
Yeah, whatever fixes we're getting right now seem to be coming from the Foundry team,
which is working on Module 1 of Neverwinter.
Yeah. Which is going to be a huge update, and as was it Cast suggested? Oh, someone suggested, and I think Realm or Hippie or someone pointed out in chat as well. I can't remember. I'm doing too many things. That we probably should expect something to happen to us when it goes live. Perhaps we should be asking Cryptic about that now. And in fact, I may just send an email off.
And we
might catch them before Vegas. Yeah, one line. 2 down Stahl. Should we expect Doom? Boom. It may actually be worth trying to get a hold of someone like Mapolis as well, and just find out what they're doing as far as, well, maybe not Mapolis because he's environment, but I don't know, we'll see. Just someone in the Foundry team that we know is Foundry team and not assigned to a specific game, and just see what they're actually doing. Not necessarily game-wise, but just what they're doing to the Foundry, and then perhaps how it's interfacing, and we might even posit some of these bugs to them, as in that there's an issue with the interfacing between the Foundry sandbox environment and the STO environment, as opposed to what they're doing with Neverwinter. If any of that made sense, I have no idea at the moment because my brain is blah.
No, I mean, it makes perfect sense. We need somebody who's doing something with the thing we love to communicate to us about what they're doing. You know, it's one thing to have a producer on the STO team who can add the assets but has, no other resources. And it's another thing to have a really nice guy from QA talk to us. But we have no idea who is even on this Foundry team. I mean, maybe Mapolis is there, or maybe he's just a Neverwinter guy now. I don't know. But it's really frustrating when things get changed, things get removed, and there's very little communication. I think my favorite example is the FreeCam tool. Okay, so at some point, the ability for us to separate our character from the camera got put into the Foundry. Nobody knows when that happened, really, because there was never any patch notes. There was never even a line of communication that I know of saying, hey, Foundry authors, here's this really cool and useful tool. Here's what you type in the chat to make it work. Like just that basic communication wasn't there, and it took, I don't know how long it took Pindra to figure out, hey, look, if you type this code in the chat, you can, separate your camera from your character. And the same thing with the recent update, the command line just got changed. No one told us what the new command line was until somebody figured it out by messing around. And it's just like, that's how bad the lack of communication is, when they can add something that is solely reliant on tribal knowledge and not even tell us how it works.
But was that ever intended for us to use? It's kind of like demo record. It was never intended for us to use.
Well,
it was
I don't know
just something that was in there.
I mean, that's what they say now, but I don't believe that always was true. Because
demo
when they were
a little bit different.
Well, when they were advertising in the beginning, when the Foundry was first going to go live, they released a video and all that. And all these devs were talking about was the machinima tools we'd have access to. And I'm sure they were referring to demo record.
Yeah, and every time
it was the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's a slightly different situation. I probably shouldn't even said it, but FreeCam is a completely different thing in that it was probably just, I mean, they didn't tell us because they probably didn't think we'd ever need to know about it or that we should use it.
But
for all we know, it enters a whole string of errors and bugs into the system.
I think anyone who's had much experience as a builder would just know how useful that is. So I don't know why it wasn't put in there in the first place, but oh well, I digress. I mean, maybe I use it a lot more than other people do.
I haven't really used it myself, so yeah.
I mean, whether it's
different
used
people,
or
different
not,
styles.
It doesn't change the fact that it should have been at least talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps they didn't even know it was in there. Perhaps they didn't know it was actually accessible by players, because it's not accessible by normal game, is it? Or am I right? It's only accessible in the Foundry editor.
Yeah, only in the Foundry. All right, well, that's my rant about that. That's really all I wanted to say. It really does seem like Dan communicated something that I thought was really true following Season 4, which is that having just this core team is not working, and having a separation between our devs and Foundry devs is what's causing these massive bugs and these massive problems during season updates. And now we're back at that same spot again.
I agree. Yeah. So basically, in sum up of that, we need devs on STO to make sure. Well, we need devs to make sure that STO Foundry works with whatever they're doing on whatever the core Foundry team is doing. Basically, any updates, just making sure that works at least as a starting point, so that what they're doing in Neverwinter doesn't muck up what they're doing, what's happening in STO.
Or at least taking some time before they launch a big season update to go into the Foundry and see how that update affects the Foundry.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have anything to say on that? Or actually, do our audience have anything to say on that? We'll wait and see. In 40 seconds' time.
I think that after this, we will take a break. We're in 45 minutes now, halfway through. So we'll take a short break and come back with our conclusion of the topics, I guess.
So tell you what, well, we've still got a couple more topics to come through.
Right.
So tell you what, how about we take a break now, run some ads, and then we'll give the chat some time to come up with their questions, and if they have any, then we'll answer them and talk about them when we come back from the break. Sound good, guys?
Sure. Sounds good to me.
Awesome. We'll see you in a couple of minutes, guys.
Very good. And here we go.
Hi, I'm Bazag, and I like to stab. Of course, I don't just stab people, but I stab ideas as well. Yes, you can stab ideas. Stabbing gets to the heart of the matter, and I like to do so with all sorts of matters related to the Foundry. And this is why I'm creating a new podcast called Bazak Stabs. Bazak Stabs will be covering everything from Foundry mission reviews to discussions about designing and developing your mission. I'll be talking about mission structure, storytelling ideas, and tutorials about including cool technical tricks. I also hope on occasion to take some cryptic employees hostage and force them at Plastic Knife Point to answer some questions. If you're interested in learning how to make a Foundry mission, or to make your Foundry mission better, Bazak Stabs is for you. So keep a lookout at Starbase UGC or Tavern UGC, and you'll never know what I might take a stab at next.
Hello, I am Solicitor Bran. You may know me from my other ads and appearances on the UFP networks. I'm here to talk to you tonight about Eudenitis myocloria, or Gatron's disease. This affliction has become common among dilithium miners all over the galaxy. It is terminal, and there is no cure. I do, however, prescribe large doses of latinum as a treatment. Gold-pressed latinum makes everyone feel better, especially me. So if you or a loved one have contracted this deadly ailment, contact my office immediately. I will fight the mining consortiums to get you the compensation we deserve. Honestly, what do you have to lose? You're not going to be around long enough to care. At least you'll go to the grave knowing that we hit these jokers where it hurts them most. Watch this.
Well, it looks like those miners are going with a public defender. We've got this all wrapped up. They don't stand a chance.
Wait, it looks like they've changed counsel. They're going with Solicitor Bran instead.
Oh no, that is bad news for our clients. We had better just settle this one. What are you upset about? The consortium pays us win or lose.
Oh yes, I'll call Bran and let him know when to expect all the latinum. See? The whole system is geared toward moving these cases along as quickly as possible. After all, no one likes to hear about sick people. This is a happy utopian society and sickness is so negative. So contact me today, and trust me, you'll be buried in a pure latinum container. Like the song says, for compensation, I'm your man. Contact me today.
Bran, 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 he'll fix your problem if he can. Oh, Bran, 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 for compensation, he's your man.
I'm slightly dying here.
We're back.
Oh dear, okay. Hello guys, welcome back. I may have just died from a Dorito. Ow.
Well, you sound live enough.
For now. So yeah, welcome back guys. Do we have any questions in the chat? Thank goodness for Frost and Brandon. Question. Why does Oliver fail at life? I'm opening up that to the floor. If anyone would like to say something? No?
It's probably the Hell Doggy thing.
Yeah. I really have no opinion on them.
Hell Doggy equal anti-life.
How so? I mean, I'm like a three-headed dog. I'm amazing.
That guards the doorway to the afterlife. Seems rather anti-life to me.
It's kind of give and take. You know, I'm like in between. Anyway, moving on. Oh, Harriet likes me. That's nice. Thank you, Harriet. See, I'm saying your name correctly as well.
We were wondering if there was anybody who was interested in coming on. If anybody's got a headset handy.
Yeah, if anyone's got a headset handy and wants to get onto Skype, we'll probably bring you on towards the end of the show. If you want to come on and say something about a particular topic, etc., etc., just send us a message, say something in chat like you want to come on, and we'll make sure we have your Skype details and everything, and we'll bring you on later. That sound good, guys?
And yes,
cool.
Orient, we are going to address your letter during the show.
In fact, we're going to do the first one right now.
Wait, we're touching the mailbag?
Mailbag.
Please don't do the Blues Clues song.
No, I was doing a reference to an animal show over here, like dogs do the funny. It's Animal Planet. It's like dogs do the funniest things or something like that. It was funny. Anyway, here we go. Letter 1. I'm putting on my letter reading voice. My first question is about the Alachi. Of all sentient mobs Cryptic put in our foundry, the Alachi are the ones we know the least about. We have the missions Cryptic made, the episodes that introduced the Shroomies and let's call them the Clickers into Trek, and then there's a link to the TNG episode Schisms. Is that right?
Yes.
Maybe. Yes. And then we have a Memory Beta article that adds in other licensed materials that probably were just meant to be about Shroomies and Clickers. Each is unrelated species, but with Cryptic is... which Cryptic is free to ignore. Knowing so little about the Alachi, it could be easy for Foundry authors to write missions that could only be contradicted by later Cryptic material. It would be like those comics and... Sorry, I can hear myself. It would be like those comics and books that posited separated ridged and unridged Klingon species. Would that risk for being Would that risk... sorry, I can't speak. Would that risk of being contradicted by Cryptic limit the type of missions you might make involving Alachi? Would it prevent you from using them all? And would it even would you even care if a theoretical Alachi mission of yours were later contradicted by Cryptic missions? Stop here for discussion. So, discussion. A little bit more to that letter, but hey ho.
I would not hesitate to use the Alachi because they're so underdeveloped in the Legacy of Romulus story. I mean, what do we know about them besides that they eat people?
Right.
They're evil monsters, eat people, go shoot, pew pew, blow them up. Hey, look, they're cool because they launch onto your face and suck your brain or something.
Right, and from the show we know they experiment on people.
Yeah.
That's about as much history as we have.
But Star Trek Online has a long history of just throwing random enemies at us and not really giving them much of a background. So, I mean, it's a good opportunity for Foundry authors to say, okay, make them more complex, make them more than just bad guys. So I say go forth and do it, and don't worry about what Cryptic will or will not do.
Yeah, I never worry about whether Cryptic is going to contradict anything that I put in there. I mean, it's a separate thing. I don't think anybody writes with STO... Well, I'm sure there are, but I don't think many authors worry about STO canon so much when they do their own stuff.
Well, and if you just look at the novel sphere itself, it's very easy for that to happen. In fact, just recently, the new Christopher L. Bennett Enterprise novel, it changes the basic founding of the Federation history that is laid out in the big Federation book that they just put out, because he didn't have access. There's divergence in some of the events and stuff, and it's partly because he didn't have access to the material when he was doing his writing. So there's a long-standing tradition of authors having their works contradicted, and it just kind of goes on. Either you try and write some sort of thing like temporal, timey-wimey, this is why this happened.
Spacey stuff.
Exactly. This is why this happened. This is why Enterprise's computer consoles were so high-tech looking, and this is why the original series' ones weren't, because we did this to stop the Romulan telepresence system.
Mm-hmm.
That explained away pretty buttons, single button. So I mean...
Making things simpler.
Exactly. So it basically... You should create what you want and your vision, and if it gets And if your vision becomes invalid later, well, you have the option of changing your vision or saying, to heck with their vision. My vision's superior.
I stand by my reasoning for when anything like that could happen. It was all a dream.
Yeah.
That's your answer for everything, film boy.
Yes, it is.
I think authors should never.
more.
Sorry, okay. I think authors should never be afraid to take risks. For example, one of my missions called Vulcan Love Slave Number 9, it takes an element of that's the mission name because it takes.
I know, but how can we take a mission seriously, a point about a mission seriously when it's called Vulcan Love Slave Number 9?
Are you kidding?
I'm just filled my
mission,
head with him.
And yet that mission makes Federation law.
Yeah.
Hang on. You mean you've played a mission cast?
I've heard about it.
Well, basically, what I did is I researched the parts about holographic rights that are in the Path to 2409, and I realized, okay, like none of this is even in the game to begin with, right? And so there's this whole arc about holographic rights and the Doctor, and it's all going to be resolved in some big court case, blah blah blah. So I wrote a mission and I resolved the whole thing. So I took an unresolved element of the Path to 2409 and I solved it. And I'm very confident that will never be contradicted by Cryptic because they're never going to return to that element of their own Path to 2409.
Right.
Let's continue on with the rest of this letter then. He then goes on to say, and that leads to a broader question. To what degree do you care about being consistent with Cryptic missions? To what degree do you care about being consistent with other Foundry missions? Sure, there's no way we can play all the missions that take stories seriously, and we probably don't want to feel bound to every story Foundry mission either. I played a mission that said all of Star Trek is a holodeck program, as if Star Trek isn't our real future history. Ridiculous, I say. But on the other hand, I, for one, would avoid creating my own Deep Space 11 in deference to Admiral Murphy. I would never kill Helena, even with the reset button. Hang on, I'm going to have to interject there with my own statement. I would quite happily kill Helena. I think I have at one point. Anyway, or declare all Rigelians to be pacifists in deference to have. Nor would I cure Chulaski's madness. Who would want to? I mean, geez, who?
Wait, Chulaski's mad?
I know, right? Since when? Jeez. To what degree do you care about being consistent with Cryptic missions, other Foundry authors' missions, or even your own? Pause here while panel has a discussion.
Well, I'm going to actually kind of include this into my discussion point, which I was going to ask, from what sources do you pull when you're making a mission? This kind of segues into it greatly because when you are personally working on a mission, what do you feel is a proper source for your mission? I go to novel sources. I've got like my technical manuals sitting right over here, the Old Worlds of the Federation book. All of these are sources I go to look for stuff, and the Star Trek chronology to look for stuff. But does it contradict itself? Oh, heck yeah. Like for example, Alpha Centauri is supposed to be a founder of the Federation, correct?
Yes.
Well, Alpha Centauri in the Worlds of Federation book have 6 fingers. In one of the more recent things for, I believe, from Enterprise, Alpha Centauri is an Earth colony. So, right there.
I thought it was an Earth colony as well.
Well, suppose... Here we go. Oh, wait, that's Earth. Vulcan. I am flipping through the... here we go. Alpha Centauri 7. Is
this the Star Charts book? Or
No, this is the Old Worlds of the Federation book. Alpha Centauri was the first inhabited world encountered by Terran explorers. In the Terran year 2048, actual physical contact was made with representatives of the Centauri space fleet, the UNSS Icarus, and so on and so forth. That's...
What?
2048?
Yep.
that contradicts everything. How old is this book?
This book was published sometime after 1987, 1989.
Okay.
Wow.
And if I really want to go to a culture shock, I go to my old Franz Joseph technical manual that has so many ship designs that are not valid. Like the old oh crud, what was the one to sell?
Oh yeah,
it's an A name, like the Achilles or I'm sorry, the Saladin, the original Saladin, which is not an A name, which is not an A name at all.
Cast is getting old is fine.
But it's a good point that there's so many contradictions of canon within Star Trek itself. And there's so many instances where things just don't make sense. Like the NX-01 can get to the Klingon homeworld in 4 days at warp
5.
At warp 5, right. But as far as Cryptic goes and Star Trek Online, I honestly take Memory Alpha a lot more seriously than anything I see them do or in the Path to 2409, just because I'm writing more for the Star Trek fan than the Star Trek Online player.
Right.
I tend to take I think Memory Alpha doesn't really contradict anything that STO does, because STO kind of sticks to Memory Alpha, because Memory Alpha is shows, if I'm right.
Well,
it's
really
all shows and movies.
Memory Alpha comes from canon sources that can be, sourced. And it all really, honestly, what it amounts to is Star Trek Online's acknowledgement of things goes as far as Christine decides to follow a source.
Yes, I think, although I don't think I've ever seen anything where STO sort of diverges from what
data?
Memory Alpha says. Does it? Why? What does it say data ends up going to?
Well, for a start, you have right now there are at least 2 regenesis stories for data. There's the David Mack Body Electric,
but hang on, are those on Memory Alpha?
Potentially not. Data may still even be dead as far as Memory Alpha is concerned. I'd have to actually look.
I'm just looking now myself.
There was never an explanation to why he's back and captain of the Enterprise.
Well,
it was. I think they
except
said
maybe in
the Needs of the Many.
In Needs of the Many,
not
yeah.
What am I talking about?
Is where the Star Trek Online version of it comes, and in David Mack's Body Electric trilogy, the first book, that's where the I'll call it the Prime Universe rebirth comes.
There is a lot on Data in this.
It would be down towards the end, in the deathy part.
Yeah, they don't say anything about him coming back. The last thing in his timeline is he discovered his second brother B4 and was killed in the destruction of the Romulan Warbird scimitar. Riemann Warbird, sorry. So yeah, I would say that STO has never diverged from Memory Alpha itself. The Apocrypha that's mentioned, perhaps, but that's not canon. As far that's not TV show and film canon, which is what Memory Alpha comes from. So personally, I'll just very quickly. I follow Memory Alpha and STO, and also the Star Trek Star Charts, just for a little bit additional stuff. If I ever want to do anything that's outside of that, I tend to go time traveling or alternate universing.
Yeah, I'm strictly the Memory Alpha Star Trek encyclopedia, and it's all shows and movies.
Yeah, Harriet, there is the Path 2409 data, which I believe is said it's B4, that data is uploaded, so Data's memory is basically put into B4 and he becomes Data, and then he takes command of the Enterprise and blah 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 blah.
Well, there was that hint
happens
of it.
to him.
No, the quick quick synopsis, which, by the way, spoilers coming up, so you might want to mute for the next 30 seconds. In Nemesis, Data tries to upload a part of his positronic matrix into B4 in order to upgrade B4. It didn't work. Fast forward to afterwards, Geordi and the Daystrom Institute were spending forever trying to get Data's positronic matrix to come back. They found out that he was going into a cascade failure. They were either going to have to wipe Data or fix it. B4 sacrifices himself to allow his brother to take over his body. Data is now B4. That's the quick of that. Data gets back his Starfleet commission.
Yeah, but we got a hint of that at the end of Nemesis, where he starts to remember the music.
Yeah.
So
like almost saying, in the future, it's going to get a full restore. You know? But
I would like to remind everyone that we're writing missions for a game in which lots of Federation captains are flying all kinds of crazy alien ships.
Hey, most of those ships are Federation ships, and nothing is said that we couldn't fly other ships from other races. We just always saw Earth-style ships, which is a very Terran-centric thing, and no wonder everybody hates Earth for its control over the Federation. That's why we have to shoot everything in the face.
Yeah, it's true. Jeez.
Still,
it's shoot to kill, shoot to kill, shoot to kill.
It's canon nonsense for a captain to just be flying around in a Tholian ship as his ship with his crew on a Tholian ship.
I would make an argument for it being that actually that's fine.
That Tholians don't give a ship?
Yes, indeed. But war. We're at war. The Federation is fighting for its survival, essentially, on 5 fronts?
I think it's more like 7, but...
I think it's more like 40.
On many
yeah, but then
fronts,
again, you get all that with the different ships and everything. And then you get the 1 star because the uniforms are old that you're using. You know?
But you shouldn't be using old uniforms. Jeez. But no, I think that flying around in any ship you can get your hands on, so long as it's powerful and does the job, I think in war is a pretty reasonable thing to be going by.
Then where's my salvage Klingon warbird?
That is a fair point. They all go to Starfleet R&D. Yep, all of them.
And besides, if I see anything that even smacks of somebody who's going to shoot me, I'm more likely to shoot at it first, as opposed to go, oh, that's a friend or foe, it's one of ours.
Well, they'll have a PID. They'll have an ID on them.
I mean, remember, quick, somebody, Star Trek II, what is the general order involving 2 ships meeting in deep space and acknowledging each other? All the gobbledygook Savick says.
Someone in the chat in 47 seconds, please tell us. I can look it up. General orders on Memory Alpha.
I remember her talking about the captain beaming down without an unarmed escort. It's the only thing coming to mind right now.
Starfleet General Orders and Regulations. I don't see anything in particular. That's TAS, that's all TAS. There's a lot of general orders in TAS. Star Trek 2, on the approach of any vessel when communications have not been established, go to yellow alert, is what they're supposed to do.
Don't feed the bears, Relum Time says.
Yeah, General Order 12, on the approach of any vessel when communications have not been established, you should go to yellow alert.
So yeah, anytime I see a Federation vessel, there's that. But you've got then Tholian vessels, Romulan vessels. Insert flavor of the month here: True Way, Ferengi.
Yes,
Jem'Hadar, bug ships.
But if they are Federation vessels, then they'll all have a Federation. They'll probably have a Federation signal being put out from them. Like you can see, what was it? It was in DS9, wasn't it? Where they used the Jem'Hadar ship, but because they weren't sending out a Federation signal, they couldn't identify themselves to the Akira class. But then because they were still using the Jem'Hadar signal, they could get through the Ketracel White stuff. So I'm pretty sure that they would change not the warp signature, but the something signature. They're sending out transponder. Exactly, that's the word I was looking for.
Now, can I just interject here and say, Harian's trying to get us back on on topic.
We had a topic.
So, have you ever changed your story? What does he say? To not contradict any other Foundry mission. I was just trying to make sense out of that for a second. Sorry, Harry.
I don't think I've ever changed because of a Foundry mission, but I have a little bit because of a cryptic mission. Well, I haven't changed it. I just sort of made it around a cryptic mission.
I got really annoyed when somebody did a mission similar to what I was working on, but that was, and I haven't gotten back to it. It's sitting in my inventory of missions to be fixed.
I don't know if I've ever come across it. I didn't, to even say whether I would do that or not. I don't think I've ever really, bumped into that problem.
Yeah, I just have made my missions around them. I've never had to change anything because something interrupted it. I think I've sort of stayed. Most of the topics I've gone over have sort of been different to everything else.
I have a question.
Yes, yeah.
Where are Oliver's missions?
Dorito is my answer.
Yeah, I heard that crunch.
Sorry.
How about Kirkfat, for example? He's
still there.
He's delved well into the realms of the Enterprise stories, which
I actually have two missions that contradict each other. So in Vulcan Love Slave number 9, the player can liberate all holograms and basically give them human rights. But then in my recent contest entry, it's holograms in a dilithium mine who have no rights at all. So I guess maybe one could be played as a sequel to the other, but they completely contradict each other. But it fit with the stories I wanted to tell, so I just did it.
So in true Star Trek fashion.
Yeah.
See, I could never do that to myself. My brain would just explode. I build my own headcanon based on my own missions, Memory Alpha and STO, basically. That's what I do, and I could never contradict myself. I'd have to go and retcon. Literally, I'd just have to go and retcon. Or put it in a different universe. Or it was all a dream, or, stuff. So is that everything on that topic?
Are there more questions there?
Not along that one anyway. Yeah, good night, Thoradal. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for showing up.
Yes, good night. Well, I say it's 7:45. Well, 7:45 by my clock, but we have 15 minutes left.
Okay. Well, let's go very quickly, and we'll run in. I think we have a little bit more than 15 minutes, perhaps. We'll see.
Well.
Captain, do you want to very quickly go over your topic, or is it not really much for you?
Well,
right
I'll
now?
mention it. I mean, earlier in the week, Kirkfat had posted in the forums, in the Foundry forums, a post about predictions and what are our predictions for the end of the year, what to expect for the Foundry before the end of 2013. And reading through it, I just noticed that, the disparity of opinions and expectations. I myself couldn't come up with a prediction. I'm guardedly optimistic about it. I have been for a long time, but after this year, if there's nothing, then I don't know where that is. But anyway,
it's noteworthy that no one, I think, is overly optimistic. I mean, I think the most optimistic thing in that thread that I've seen is Bazag, who really thinks that the Neverwinter style interior map creator is coming, which I
really don't want it to.
I don't see that happening anyway.
But it's either people who are, I'm still kind of optimistic, or it's people who are just like, nothing at all is going to happen at all.
Oh, yeah. There are some real naysayers in there, too, I noticed.
And some of them are really well-known Foundry authors, like Nagarak.
Nagarak, I was going to say.
I mean, his prediction is no new features will be implemented, no changes will be made to the bad rating systems, grinders will still make up a disproportionate amount of the top 50, and there will be no split categories, and saying he would not bet on anything being improved.
Well, I mean, I can certainly understand that attitude based on having patience for the last couple of years and just getting trickles here or there. When so much has been promised and so little has been delivered, I could see people getting very, very, very discouraged. But it's pretty interesting how vocal he was.
My prediction for the update at the end of 2013 is that we will be waiting for 2014 to roll around for them to unlock the Foundry, because something major broken. We're going to be waiting for them to fix it and the republish. It's happened before, it will happen again. We are stuck in the wheel of time.
That's true. I mean, if the season 8 is as big as it's purported to be, there definitely will cause some Foundry problems. They always do.
I think we know where I stand on this issue.
Puppies and kittens and everything will be unicorns.
Yeah, he still believes we're getting the cutscene editor, I think.
We'll get that at some point. I
don't think
I have seen it. Therefore, I would actually, just something that popped into my head is, I wonder if Foundry and Neverwinter is going to have a big blip when their new season rolls in, because it's not solely Foundry oriented. But I would be interested to see whether they have those issues. They probably won't, but it would be interesting if they do.
It would be great to see that their Foundry gets treated like our Foundry, but I think by experience we're going to see that they get all the good stuff and things fixed immediately after it breaks, whereas we have to wait 3, 4, 5 months for... It was 2.5 months just for them to fix Drozana. And I don't know... Drozana was stated as being fixed. Has anybody been able to confirm whether or not Drozana actually was fixed?
What's the issue with Drozana again?
The dialogues got broken on the map because of the changes they made to the map.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't even
Wait, as in,
to be honest.
As in which map? Like, if they're on the social map?
Their own map, yes.
Right, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that's actually fixed. It's claimed to have been fixed, though.
Yes, I haven't talked to Sori since that went live to see if his mission actually unbroke. So, that took 2.5 months. We've been having these other editor issues for that long as least. As far as I know, the Ice Cave map is still broken in whatever way it's broken. I've not seen any update on that.
I thought they said that all those maps had been fixed.
No, just Kasei. Kasei is the only one I think it's been fixed.
Oh, right, okay, sorry, I've missed
Which I guess indicates that it's a map-by-map fix.
Mm-hmm. So perhaps because they were doing that, they were doing something with graphics upgrades, perhaps they had to replace something on map, I don't know. That might be it. Because what missions would those have been in? Keisei was certainly used in the mission, but was the ice caves ever used in the mission? I'm not sure it was.
Well, it depends on which ice caves they actually are. The only ones I can think of offhand are the ones from the Romulan feature episode. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking. No, it's certainly not those ice caves because we don't have those in the Foundry. Oh well. Well, there's something going on anyway. I haven't even been able to wade into this thread yet because I only just got back today properly. But from what I've read, it seems to be going fairly opposite to the way that our little poll did last episode, which it was almost unanimous in that it's going to be good, that I'm going to win the bet.
I should
see.
point out that one of my predictions is already proven wrong with the Romulan stuff. Well, I mean, we still can't really make Romulan. We still can't make the mission. So, I mean, my prediction's still right, but at least it looks like my prediction will be wrong.
I claim victory.
Yeah,
just on that one point.
I can only see those new additions as possible things that they're working on that we may get. I mean, if it doesn't work yet, it doesn't count.
I will ask this though. Do you see? This is open to the chat as well. Please do comment. Do you see this being like the addition of the this Foundry, the Romulan Foundry stuff, and any new updates to the Foundry, some of the fixes, etc. Do you see that as a positive thing? And I mean that, I mean, I know that probably everyone thinks, yay, this is done. But do you see that as a positive thing for the Foundry and as an indication of positivity in the future? I'm genuinely interested from everyone's point of view. Just a yes or a no.
Yeah, I think anything that's... If it works, then yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I fear about the Romulan faction is they're going to give us NPCs, costumes, ships, and the ability to tag it as a Romulan mission, and that's all we'll get. So making a Romulan mission in the Foundry, it sounds like it's going to be very similar to making a KDF, where, you can make a KDF mission, and you have some maps, and you have some sets, but a lot of KDF authors, I mean, they have to use Federation props, or they have to use a Federation door, or some other thing because they just don't have the assets to do it.
Although there were a lot of Romulan props in Foundry before we ever got the faction.
Not a lot of maps, though, right? I mean, just maybe 2 or 3 Romulan maps.
Right.
So most of our Romulan stories are going to happen outside of Romulan space.
Yeah, there is no generic Romulan map, as an example. There's actually not a... Well, when I say generic, I'm talking about, like, there's 2 generic interiors. One is Federation, one is that orange interior, like... Like what what the crud is the name of that stupid freighter? It's their second mission.
Azura. SS Azura.
Yeah, the Azura. Basically, that's what the 2 generic interiors are. There are no generic Klingon interiors. There are no generic Romulan interiors, which are just a series of rooms. Not that they would be mapped in any logical way anyways.
Right. Yeah, we do have Romulan interiors, though.
There is the Romulan interior that I looked at the other day. I mean, it's a Romulan interior, but it's an awful map. You know, it's like this crazy jumbled map of skinny corridors. And I played a mission, actually, a KD Spotlight that used it. It was Silent Night. I forget the author's name. But he hadn't done that much to the map, but it was such a friendly map to use because it was so cramped that just putting a console in it made it kind of hard to fight in. So I think it could work if we got better sets. I mean, I'm not very confident that I could build a custom Romulan interior on platforms up in the sky. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I mean, do you think you have enough walls or props that you could do a custom interior?
Not a good one.
From what we understood, because I don't know, did you have Skype issues?
Yeah, Kirkfat was breaking up a bit. Yeah.
Okay. From what I think, I could make an interior map for Romulan. It would be difficult, and it would kind of be, as you said earlier, like making a KDF map, in that you'd have to use a lot of generic stuff, I suppose. But actually, if I could go back to what you were talking about before with the Klingon stuff briefly, I think it was probably because back when Foundry was first introduced with Klingons didn't actually have that many assets, as in there weren't that many props that were Klingon. Am I right in that? As in, I think we got pretty much everything Klingon that existed at that point. They had crates, they had weapons.
Yeah, they had a lot of crates and barrels. Yeah.
They had a lot of crates and barrels, and then they used generic stuff, and they used like the orange or bronze interior stuff. And really, I think that's about it for Klingons back in the day. So, yeah, I've forgotten my point, but there was a point.
You were talking about making a Romulan interior, and you think you could do it.
Yeah, I think I could do it, but whether it would be entirely... of course, it could be better. It's sort of the same as making a Klingon interior, is what I think I'm probably saying, which is not to say that it's good, but we should see improvement. I'm not entirely dismissive of getting Romulan assets, though, more Romulan assets. The same way we could easily get Klingon assets. It's just Zero hasn't got around to bringing them in yet, as she's done with Federation stuff. Perhaps that's what we should be asking for next.
I'm still waiting for the green screen.
So am I.
Costumes post March 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, but green screen would make everything better.
This is actually
except for
what
all
I mean
the
about
things that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Suffering through all this stuff for the last couple of years, waiting for stuff that was promised and we haven't gotten. I'm surprised there wasn't a lot more negative predictions in that post. That's all.
Plus, it's the forums. I'm surprised. Like, there will always be an unholy amount of negativity in forums. Yes, but I'm surprised that there hasn't been more. So, yeah, make of that what you will. Yeah, I think that's probably us done. Sorry. Very quickly, we have Romulan buildings, don't we? In the Foundry?
Yes.
We have the generic Romulan buildings, anyway.
Yeah, we had the ones from that mission. I forget the name of it now.
The one where you go into the city and stuff. We have things like that.
You have to rescue the Federation prisoners.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's Raider 3 is the colony, the Romulan colony.
We don't have any buildings from New Romulus.
No, we don't. But there aren't that many buildings on New Romulus, are there?
No, but
literally,
they're nice, though.
Well, actually, what buildings?
Well, I mean, I'd like to get the Veronat map and all the stuff from that came in with all the new content.
What, you need to be able to create a good market area?
Yeah. That'd be nice. It would be nice. Anyway,
I like that whole thing with the plants, the vineyard, and the irrigation and all that. It's great.
Oh, it is gorgeous. It really. I just like to see more moving props, like the windmill and the minecart from the other missions and things like that. That would just be so cool. And to have shuttles coming over, like we have the birds coming over at the moment.
Right.
And we have traffic, but I keep forgetting to use that.
Yeah, it looks two-dimensional, though. It's not very good looking.
Yeah, especially
if It's fine if it's really high. It's just if you're close to it, it's a bit shit.
A lot bit,
yeah. Does anyone else have anything to say on that topic, or shall we move on to our two final things?
Moving right along.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along. Before we go into Cosmodian's casting couch, boom, 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 play music stuff. Anyway, we're going to have a little crack at Harriet's other letter, which was included. It's much shorter. So here we go. Here's another way STO's Foundry might make money for Cryptic and Perfect World. The Foundry itself is a technology that could be put in more games. It could be the selling point of other games, and having it in at least 2 different styles of MMO could help Cryptic and Perfect World understand its strengths and how to improve it. Is this a valid point? If so, how could we work with this point, and what would that mean for our strategy of getting more attention from Cryptic to our Foundry? And then he goes on to say, okay, I'm getting a little pomfar now. Talk amongst yourselves, I'll give you a topic. Star Trek is neither a Trek, nor is it a star. Discuss. So let's go with the first things first.
Coffee talk.
do you
Gino
think
talk.
That,
There we go.
do you think that putting the Foundry in more MMOs or more games rather, is the best way of sort of making Cryptic use the Foundry more in STO's Foundry, I suppose is what he's getting at.
Well, that was Neverwinter's whole thing, wasn't it? I mean, Neverwinter was based around the Foundry.
After that was reworking,
It was originally something else entirely different, and then they changed tack.
Mm-hmm.
But they changed tack before it went anywhere near live, so it became what it is now.
It was postponed by a year from that point as well.
I would posit that we may actually start seeing details regarding this. If anybody has seen any of the announcements coming out of Sony recently for what they're doing with EverQuest.
Yeah, I saw that.
EverQuest is releasing basically 2 new versions of EverQuest, one of which will have what right now appears to be a quasi-UGC tool to it. It's kind of very vague about what it's going to be. It looks like it may be kind of like a Minecraft sort of thing, but you can put content that others can access in your... It's very up in the air is what they do. But if they do add a UGC element to it, that would be the first major non-cryptic handled MMO that I can think of that has a UGC tool.
Well, apart from that, because there's 3 types of UGC tools at the moment. There was 3 types. There's Sony's original Star Wars Galaxies UGC
I would posit to you that Star Wars Galaxies was never a truly UGC system.
Yeah, you couldn't build things. You could basically make a story and quests, but you couldn't put any buildings, etc. You couldn't create your own maps, your own instances. The other type is something like Second Life, where you can build everything and anything. And third is Star Trek Online's type, which is you have instances, you can build everything yourself in instances, as well as interacting with the rest of the world. So I'm interested to see where that's going. I haven't heard about Second Life stuff. Sorry, EverQuest stuff.
It also includes some profit sharing, at least according to that article. Where go ahead, Cass.
I was going to say that this all broke Friday afternoon. So if you
that's why I haven't seen it.
If you want to go take a look at Massively, will be the first place I'll direct you at. But I'm sure you can find plenty of resources later.
Yeah. I'm looking it up now. So what's this about? Monetization? Sort of
monetization.
Sharing profits? Yes, monetization for sharing profits and things. Is that sort of along the lines of... Is it Dota that does that sort of thing? Or is it's something along those lines? Where you can sell... Oh, sorry, no, it's whatever you... not...
It was very vague.
Diablo.
It was like if you make something and then another player buys it, then you get a percentage of the cut. I'm not really sure what that means.
Okay. That sounds pretty much like Diablo's type of thing.
Or how it works across international lines, state lines.
Well, how does Diablo get around it? Do you know? Diablo 3. Where you can craft something and then sell it.
they probably have massive deals with the entirety of South Korea.
But then people can also buy it outside of South Korea? I don't know. Word. We'll have to look into that.
I see lots of potential pitfalls with actual true monetization, which until they change their tack, the statement that has always gone with the Foundry has been that there is no plans to monetize the Foundry. If we can't have them monetize, well, if we can't get them to fix the monetization that already exists in the Foundry by way of being able to use the character creator freely, I don't see where they're going to monetize anything where I will have bought something and I can now access it in the Foundry in order to support Foundry development. So, who knows?
Okay, then.
Which, going backwards, I mean, this monetization bug, and I'm rabbit-earing that's existed far longer than the Legacy of Romulus stuff, and that still hasn't been addressed.
What you mean? You mean the C-store buying?
If you don't have a lifetime subscription, you can't create a Borg NPC.
Or if you haven't purchased the species, I can't create Helena anymore. I have a mission with that centered on Helena, and now I can't create her because I never bought her.
Oh, right.
So anybody who wants to contribute a Kickstarter so that Kirkfat can purchase all of the races.
It just is one of those bugs that should have been fixed a long time ago. I think at one point it was fixed, and then it returned as a bug with the next update. Am I wrong there? I seem to recall that...
I think it worked for like a week, and then it came back when they did Season 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a terrible bug. It really should be fixed by now. It's annoying. Very annoying. Thankfully, I haven't really been affected by it because I've bought most things in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bad Foundry author. I buy things.
Right, what we'll end up doing is that was actually part 2 of the first section of Haurian's letter. He has a second part having to do with our search system, so we'll save that till next time.
We'll save that. Yep. Okay then. I think if that's everyone talked about that, then should we move on to Castmodian's Casting Couch?
Yes.
Why, yes. Yes,
I cannot show you the pictures because if I go to screen, we're going to lose you guys, and I'll be the only one speaking.
Just bring them up on the current screen. Just add them as assets and bring them in.
Oh, that's true. I can do that.
Do you want to play the intro?
Yes, but then I'll play the intro and then I'll add them. And here we go.
Yeah.
And back.
Who's listening? Are we back?
Yes.
And
okay, cool.
We are completely acting like fools. Well, I thought in sort of celebration of the fact that we can kind of create Romulan missions in kind of sort of a way, we would touch on 2 major Romulan faction people. And those are Obasek and Datan. So, who wants to share first who they think, if we cast them, Datan and Obasek would be played by?
Well, I'm not, because I haven't thought much about it.
Wah, wah, wah.
I looked at Obasek, and I'm going to go with Dennis Leary. just because I think he's got really crazy eyes, and could pull it off.
Well, if we're going to go that route, you could also go Steve Buscemi or Nick Cage. Though I really don't want to see Nick Cage Obasek.
Nick Cage. No, yes, Nick Cage. It is definitely Nick Cage. I've decided this. It shall be Nick Cage.
And then with Datan, I see I don't know the actor's name, but the doctor from Firefly. I don't know why.
Sean. Oh, Matt, it's an M name.
So those are my picks.
In a few seconds, we'll get it from the chat room. Which is much...
yes, hippie. Oh, yes. Vin Diesel for Obasek. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I see that.
That would just work so
I
well.
went completely different. I went with Keith David, who some people, if you don't recognize the name...
The voice, you will.
Yeah, you will recognize his voice. The easiest reference I have would be Captain Anderson from the Mass Effect series. That is the most likely.
So it was, yeah.
Point.
Well, he narrates Ken Burns documentaries now, so I'm very familiar with him.
I can't remember. I know him from films.
And Drogon has provided the name. It's Sean. I'm still going to mispronounce it. Mahar. Mahar.
That's Mar.
Well, but then he says he spelled it wrong, so.
Mar is Meher.
Oh, well. I know Keith David from Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That's where I know him from.
As soon as you hear his voice, you know who he is.
Oh, yeah.
He used to narrate BMW commercials.
Not over here, he didn't.
He did here.
Well, no, they get some Ponzi Brit to him over there.
Yeah, we do. He's been in a lot of stuff, but yeah, his voice is instantly recognizable. No one else has his voice. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
He does so much. Oh my god.
Yeah, and you've probably
IMDb is a wonderful thing.
To the mid '90s.
Yeah. Holy hell! He goes back to '79, and he's done something every year since. That is
a
wonderful.
Working man.
Yeah.
It's good to have a job.
There was a TV series called The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Yes, 21 episodes. Wonderful thing. It had a huge budget, like Star Trek The Next Generation kind of budget, and it jumped around to, 1916, because he was fighting in World War I. 1906, I think, because it was a young him traipsing around, mostly Egypt. And
it had two seasons.
Yes, it did.
And it ended before I was born. Okay.
and it was hideously expensive, and it was wonderful.
I may just have to watch this.
I believe it is on. It is on the U.S. Netflix. I do not know about the European Netflix.
Wow, I'm gonna have to get Netflix then and find out, or proxy server. We'll see. I really don't know who I'd choose for Obasek. I probably actually go with either. I'd go with Vin Diesel.
I like Vin Diesel
myself. He'd be really quite interesting.
I think Vin Diesel's a good idea.
He's got the bald head for it.
Well, yeah. But you know what I first thought when I looked at him? At first glance, remember the guy who played Professor Athgar in that TNG episode where they accused Riker of killing him? You know what I'm talking about? When they had that that point of view thing where they recreated the crime in the holodeck?
Oh,
never mind.
Right. No, I know who you mean. That'd be interesting.
Professor Apgar guy. I don't know his name. Anyway, I think it's Margolis, his last name.
Oh, anyway, yeah, you're probably right.
Margolis. But let's see. Datan, I still haven't got a candidate.
Well, then I will throw Chum in the water, and go with
Hang on, before
my...
you do that, can I say mine, because yours is just going to be rage. I would actually go for the new I go for the new Doctor, Peter Capaldi.
Too old
See, I don't
to
even know who he
begin
looks
the
like.
training.
The Tarn? What? But the Tarn's old.
Not that old.
Well, he's in his 40s, at least.
He's got grey hair.
Yeah, but you're talking 40s
In
Vulcan
Romulan, yes. That's
Hang
right.
on,
That's like teenager.
Am I
Spock
thinking
wasn't.
the wrong?
Spock was 80 when he joined Starfleet.
Am I thinking of the wrong person then? Is the Tarn the guy that kills himself to save everybody?
No, Datan's the leader of the
Datan
rebellion.
was
Right,
the little kid from
Unification.
yeah, thank you, Unification. So he's...
I still say Peter Capaldi then. I just think he would be quite good in that role. Otherwise, because he's got grey hair, doesn't he? In the game, he looks quite old in the game.
Yes, but that could just be from leadership. That kind of look at most U.S. presidents and how quickly they get old just from being the leader of the free world.
Wow. I think the best example of going grey when you're a leader of a country is Tony Blair. Look at him when he stopped dyeing his hair. He went grey very, very quickly. There is someone else in my mind that I think Tatan would be, but I can't think of who they are.
Well, Horat keeps throwing out there Vidal Peterson, but that's kind of not fair because that's who played Tatan.
Ewan McGregor would be interesting. Yes, Hippie.
No,
you're right.
No, I'm throwing my chum in the water, and I'm going with Chris Pine.
Chris Pine, really?
Yes, I figured let's go ahead and cause controversy and cause somebody to go rage out. Let's go with Chris Pine.
I don't think he'd take the role. He's too big.
Yeah,
you know
too
what,
big.
You know who would? You know who'd be better than Chris Pine?
Jack Ryan, maybe, but not Datan.
The guy who played Thingy Kirk, the older.
Oh,
Kirk,
Hemsworth.
His father,
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth, the guy who plays
Thor.
Captain America.
Thor.
Is it Thor? I thought he was
It's
the guy
Thor.
that played Captain America.
No, you're thinking of Johnny
Chris
Human
Evans.
Torch.
I always get confused between these guys. Who, what, when, where? Doesn't matter.
Chris Evans plays Captain America. He was Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four.
In one of the terrible Sony Fantastic Four movies. Well, actually, both of them.
I liked those movies. I liked them.
Which, yeah. Moving on.
Chris Pine, I don't think so, no.
Well, that's tough because I'm casting him anyways.
I like Chris Pine. Just saying.
I like him, I just don't think he'd be right at all.
I like his father, Robert Pine. In Chips.
Who's... I'm going to have to look him up.
Yeah.
Robert Pine.
His father was Robert Pine. He's in Chips.
He actually kind of looks like the Tarn.
Chips.
Robert Pine.
Yeah, he was not Eric Estrada in Chips.
California Highway Patrol.
Yes. I loved that when I was like 6. That was the coolest show.
You realize we must now do some sort of Foundry-based Chips thing.
I feel like I should watch this show before it's forced upon me.
No.
Boy.
There are many things from the 70s that should be left behind. The Love
Incidentally,
Boat's one of them. Chips is another.
Robert Pine was also in Voyager episode. Or an Enterprise episode. Yes, he was.
Wow.
I'll tell you right now.
I thought it was Enterprise.
It could be.
Because I know you showed it to me. you showed it to me one time, Paul, and I was like, no.
Yeah. It comes
he
from
was
an
actually in
acting
Star Wars: The
family.
Old Republic. It was Enterprise in Fusion.
How about Ben
Cabin.
Affleck as Tatan?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, sure. Why not? We were already casting one Jack Ryan. Let's go for another.
That's right.
Or the Scientologist dude.
Tom Cruise.
Yes. As Tatan. I could see that. Maybe that's just my tired mind.
The shortest Tatan ever. I think only Danny DeVito would be shorter.
Well, no, they could just do what they do in
TV shows.
They could just do what they do in
Forced perspective?
The Hobbits, and just make people taller. Yeah, they'll make him taller. It's fine. Or they cast a load of other short actors around him.
God, he was in Lost in Space in 1967.
Oh gosh. Oh dear. On that note, I believe we should probably come to an end unless anyone else has anything else to say.
Yeah, no.
Next week, are we going to be doing our full reviews of Neverwinter's Foundry?
Not next week, but next episode, yeah.
Next episode, yeah.
Well,
So-
next week's prime time.
Well, yeah. Well, whenever we do it. Next drive.
Yeah.
So, our viewers, we invite to go and check out the tool and then come back and see what we have to say.
Yeah, and bring
Look at
headsets
you
next
being
time.
all prepared. Jeez, KF. Since when are you prepared for all this stuff? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Wow. Anyway, yes, do what he says. Come and go and check it out, and then come on and talk to us about it all. It will be fabulous, darling. Fabulous. Is that
Okay.
everything? Oh, hang on. John Travolta as Tatan. Yes.
Talk
It'd
about
have to
too
be
old.
like Saturday Night Fever,
Yeah.
Travolta, or
No, it would be
Back, Kotter.
Welcome back, Carter.
Yes,
No,
Welcome
no.
Back, Kotter.
It
Another thing
no,
that
it
totally
would be
deserves a
Hairspray
Foundry.
Travolta.
That would be Saturday Night Fever.
I stand by my decision. It's Hairspray, John Travolta.
See
Somehow
also
that was
Saturday Night Fever.
On that bombshell, as Top Gear says. Thank you very much, guys.
Wait,
I've been
I'm pretty
Cerberusfilms.
sure that's a Drogon thing. We're not allowed to steal his tagline.
Oh, is it? Whoops. My mistake. Sorry. On that crater left by something, I've been Cerberusfilms. These have been Captain P.F. Dennis. Say goodbye.
Good night, everybody.
Customer Dean. Say goodbye.
Error.
And Kirkfat, you know the drill by now.
All right, see you, everybody.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.
This is a test. Emergency broadcast. Have developed this system to keep you informed in the event of an emergency. If this had been an actual emergency, the attention signal you just heard would have been followed by official news, information, or instructions. This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.